call. Firstly, Douglas Ross.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I know it's customary in the Scottish Parliament to thank the Scottish Government for making a statement, but I just can't. I can't, on behalf of Moray mums and families, thank him for that statement, because I share their anger, disappointment and frustration that we are no further forward. Months after the Cabinet Secretary previously came to this chamber and said he would make this a priority. We are no further forward to restoring consultant-led maternity services at Dr Gray's than we were over 4 years ago, when we were told to put up with a temporary downgrade for just a year. In his previous statement to this chamber in December last year, the Health Secretary claimed he understood the urgency and the importance of the issue. But that statement he just read out doesn't understand the importance of this issue, because we are still in the situation where there is nothing of comfort for Moray mums and Moray families in that statement, because the agonising worry and concern about being transferred in labour, be that Inverness or Aberdeen, is still there and shows no signs of ending. Quite frankly, Model 4 is a red herring, and I'm pleading with the Health Secretary to listen to local representatives, to listen to Keep Mum and other campaigners, and scrap Model 4 and move directly to Model 6. And he shouldn't just listen to local people and local politicians, he should listen to the clinicians that wrote to him today. I'm sorry, Presiding Officer, the Health Secretary overran. How long can we speak about this issue? Because we have been waiting for months for this statement, and I know people are watching this today to hear really crucial points put forward.
Mr Ross, I have given you some latitude. I'm giving you some latitude.
So how long?
I'm asking you. You've got 90 seconds. You're 90 seconds. 2 minutes. I'll give you 2.5 minutes.
Thank you. So, what does the Health Secretary say to the health clinicians who wrote to him, 22 from NHS Highland today, to say that Model 4 remains fundamentally flawed? They say Model 4 must therefore be rejected and the consultant-led service at Dr Gray's Hospital re-established as a matter of urgency. Will he do that? Will he say today Model 6 has to go forward? On elective caesareans, last December he said in this chamber there should be a rapid reintroduction of elective caesarean sections at Dr Gray's. Now we're hearing that's going to be part of Model 6. And also on Model 4, he's saying we should somehow celebrate that there's going to be more pre- and post-birth appointments at Dr Gray's. I've never had one concern raised with me by local women or families about pre- and post-birth appointments at Dr Gray's. They want to give birth at Dr Gray's, and there was nothing in this statement that would do that.
Okay, Cabinet Secretary.
On a point of order.
Point of order, Douglas Ross.
I wonder, Deputy Presiding Officer, if you will accept an emergency motion to ensure that a longer debate and discussion can be had on this issue.
You have made such a motion in the past. I accepted it in the past. I don't see the need to do so on this occasion. I gave you an additional time. You've used that additional time and more. I've already explained that we're tight for time across the afternoon, and I've called the Cabinet Secretary.
If it helps, I'm happy to commit to a meeting with Douglas Ross if he wants to discuss these issues in more detail, given the limited time that we have this afternoon. I do take the concerns that clinicians have expressed and written to me today, as Douglas Ross rightly references. He probably knows I've met with those same clinicians when I travelled myself to Raigmore. That is why I haven't stood up in this chamber and said that I am in principle giving agreement to Model 4 plans. It's why I'll come to his point. I understand he's speaking from a sedentary position. I will come to his point about potentially his suggestion of scrapping Model 4. What I've asked Professor Linda de Castiger to do, who has a panel of a paediatrician, obstetrician, midwife, a range of specialisms in this field, I've asked her to engage with those clinicians, particularly around that concern between what seems to be a gulf between the numbers that clinicians are suggesting will be giving birth in Raigmore versus the numbers in the draft business plan by NHS Highlands. In terms of his concern around scrapping Model 4, the suggestion of scrapping Model 4, if I did that, and if I do that, then we will not have that additional prenatal and antenatal care at Dr Gray's in the timescales that are being suggested by Grampian and Highland. But also what we wouldn't have is the ability for Moray mothers to be able to give birth closer, or many Moray mothers to be able to give other Moray mothers. If Douglas Ross just listens, I promise him I will meet with him if he wishes after this, as opposed to him shouting from a sedentary position. What it will allow more Moray mothers to do is give birth closer to home in Raigmore in the intervening period as we get Model 6 up and running. Because I'm certain Douglas Ross appreciates, I hope he appreciates the reality that getting Model 6 up and running, which I'm committed to, give a cast iron guarantee that we want to get there, is going to take time. And he's shouting again from a sedentary position when, as if he listened to my statement, he would have heard that I said the joint plan for Model 6 is due to me at the end of December, and I plan to give an update to Parliament then. So I'm more than happy, again, given Douglas Ross continues to shout from its sedentary position, if he wishes to raise these issues with me directly, given the lack of time or the constraints of time in this chamber, I'm happy to meet with him separately if he wishes.
Thank you, Rhoda Grant.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and can I thank the Cabinet Secretary for prior sight of the statement. My constituents in Moray are extremely concerned that Model 4 is unsafe, and it is at best a distraction from delivering Model 6, and at worst it could become the permanent solution. These concerns are backed up by the clinicians in Raigmore Hospital, who tell us that the service in Raigmore is currently unsafe and can't take an additional 190 patients, far less the 650 to 900 they predict. And the gulf in those numbers is because the government's estimation is based on UK-wide figures, not on remote rural figures, which demand a more risk-averse approach given the distances that patients will have to travel in an emergency. Cabinet Secretary is saying he hears those concerns, but he really hasn't in this statement given any indication as to how they will be resolved. He will have a plan at the end of December, but can I ask for the detail of how, and more importantly, when Model 6 will be delivered, not just the plan?
Cabinet Secretary.
So I can't tell you when Model 6 will be delivered because obviously I have to wait for the detail of the plan that comes to me in December. Then I'm happy to update Parliament around how long Model 6 will take. I, like everybody, if I could have Model 6 in place yesterday, I would have done that, and we would have done that, because I have an absolute commitment to return consultant-led maternity care to Dr Gray's. No ifs, no buts, no maybes, no possibilities. And that is the final destination. What we're doing is working back from that final destination. And what I would say, and I should have said this in reference to Douglas Ross's question, yes, COVID will impact delivery timescales. I can't get away from that. In fact, since the independent review was published in December last year, of course, we had the Omicron wave, we've had the BA2 wave, the BA4-5 wave. So there will be impacts, but I promise that there's no shortage of, certainly from me, pace or urgency to get Model 6 delivered. In terms of Rhoda Grant's question, I'm happy to reiterate what I said in my statement, that I acknowledge the concerns that are there from clinicians. I don't dismiss them by any stretch of the imagination, and that's why I've asked Professor Linda de Casticker, who's leading the external assurance piece of work, to report back to me next month. And I think I said that in my statement. Report back to me next month with her initial advice, her initial, I hope, assurance, giving me assurance and reassurance around those concerns that have been raised by clinicians. And I'm happy, I will respond back to clinicians in very short order, but I'm happy once I get that piece of external advice from Linda de Casticker to update members who speak in the chamber today.